Hello everyone. Before we start, I want to ask a question. The question we'll be thinking about the next few weeks. The question is, what does it mean to sin? Now, this is a great question. Do any of you think you know the answer? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Great. The answer to our big question is, to sin is to think, speak, or behave in any way that goes against God and His command. Let's read together. To sin is to think, speak, or behave in any way that goes against God and His commands. After the Israelites left Egypt, they rebuilt towards the promised land. They camped in Mount Sinai, where God made a covenant with His people. He gave them the law to guide them in how to live and to help them understand His perfect holiness. They make it to the edge of the promised land. All they had to do was trust God and take over the land. But as we will see in our Bible story today, the Israelites would not go into the land. Let's find out what happened.
God's people had traveled out of Egypt and were almost to the promised land. God told Moses to send men to scout out the land of Canaan. This is the land God was giving to the Israelites. So Moses sent out one leader from each family tribe. Moses told the leaders to see what the land was like and whether the people living there were strong or weak, few or many. Moses had many questions. Is the land good or bad? Are the cities they live in camps or forts? Is the land good for farming? Are there any trees? Moses urged the scouts to be courageous. So the 12 scouts traveled throughout the land for 40 days. They cut down a cluster of grapes that was so big it took 2 men to carry it on a pole. Then they went back to tell Moses, Aaron, and the other Israelites what they saw. The land is good. It is flowing with milk and honey, they said. But the people who live there are strong, and the cities they live in are large and well protected. Then Caleb, one of the men sent to scout out the land, said, We must go up and take possession of the land. We can certainly conquer it with God's help.
Oh no!
But other men disagreed. We can't go up against the people. They are stronger than we are. We look like grasshoppers compared to them. The people were afraid, and they cried all night. They thought Moses and Aaron had brought them to Canaan to die. The Israelites said, Let's choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. Joshua and Caleb tore their clothes and said again, The land we explored is extremely good land. If the Lord is pleased with us, He will give it to us. Don't be afraid of the people living in the land. God is with us. The Lord spoke to Moses, How long will these people not trust me? God threatened to destroy all the people, but Moses urged God to forgive them. Moses reminded God that He is patient, loving, and forgiving. Since Caleb and Joshua had followed God completely, God decided to let them enter the promised land. God said that the Israelites who did not trust Him would wander in the wilderness 40 years, and they would not enter the promised land. All of the spies who went to scout out the land died before entering, except for Joshua and Caleb.
Today's Bible story is from Numbers chapter 13 and 14 about Joshua and Caleb. Joshua and Caleb trust God to give His people the promised land, even though most of the Israelites did not. Have you ever found yourself trying to make the right decision when everyone else is doing the wrong thing? And standing up for what is right can be a hard thing to do. And Joshua and Caleb wanted to follow God and obey His commands. They were upset the Israelites would not trust God, and the people chose to disobey God. Joshua and Caleb believed that God was with them, and nothing could stop them from taking over the promised land. When Israelites disobeyed, Moses asked God to forgive them. God did forgive the Israelites, yet their sins still had consequences. The people who refused to obey God would not enter the promised land. Instead, they would die in the wilderness. For the next 40 years, the people wandered through the wilderness again. Only their children, along with Joshua and Caleb, would be allowed to enter the promised land. God knows that we all sin. Sometimes we sin in ways we don't even totally understand or know about it. God sent Jesus Christ to rescue us from sin. The Israelites rebelled against God because they did not trust Him. Jesus trusts God perfectly. He took the punishment we deserve for our sin. And when we trust in Jesus, God forgives our sin and gives us eternal life.
Better than the sound of my friends' voices.
Better than the biggest dreams in my heart.
And that's just the start.
Better than getting what I say I need.
Better than living the life that I want to.
Better than the love anyone could give.
Your love is.
You hold me now in your arms and never let me go. Here we go. You alone, God, make the sunshine come when the moonlight shine in the nighttime sky. You give me breath and know your love. I give my heart to you.
I can't stop falling in love with you. I'll never stop falling in love with you. I can't stop falling in love with you. I'll never stop falling in love. Come on.
Clap your hands, everybody.
Here we go.
Better than the riches of this world.
Better than the sound of my friends' voices.
Better than the biggest dreams in my heart.
And that's just the start.